What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Patio. My name's Jake. You're watching Rum and Cook. Today on the channel, we're talking about gas grills. Last week we talked about the Yoder, the pellet grill. Next week we're going to talk about the Kimono Kamado. It's grilling season, so what I want to do is put together 3 videos just to kind of talk about the differences between each of them, and that way if you're in the market, you've got some education and some knowledge to work with. I do have a much longer video that talks in depth about all 3 grills. It's actually the first video I ever did, and definitely a little nervous and awkward in front of the camera, but we knocked it out, and everyone kind of starts somewhere. So if you want to find that video, it is in the description at the very bottom. Some recommended videos there. It'll give you, it's like 30 minutes long, so it's pretty in depth. But let's talk about gas grills. We're going to talk about some pros, some cons, give you some tips, and we're going to talk about some brands. So, pros. The biggest pro for me with a gas grill is versatility. Let me show you what I mean. I've got a sear burner, and then I've got 3 other burners here. In this case, I've got 2 rotisserie burners, and I've got 2 side burners. So this guy is a workhorse, right? I can bring out all my food, I can boil some water, I can cook some corn on the cob. I usually do it on the grill, but if you want to do it, you can boil some water that way. You can saute onions up, right? You've got an oven and a stove out here, and you've got all this flexibility. So, if I want to sear some steak, I've got a 1,000-degree sear burner here. I can cook some shrimp and some vegetables at lower temperatures so they don't get burnt. You can cook an entire meal out here. Pretty much anything that you can do inside, you can do on this guy. So definitely like it. I think that just that ability to, whatever I want to throw at it, right? Rotisserie chicken is phenomenal. If you have an infrared rear burner, even I'll do a whole New York strip loin, right? I've done a whole one of those rotisserie in here, which was absolutely delicious. But you can really cook a lot of different things here, and you've got a lot of flexibility, so you can just enjoy a beautiful day outside. The second pro for it is really, doesn't matter if it's the dead of winter or the middle of summer, it gets up to temperature quick, right? In the summer, we're up to 600 degrees in like 10 minutes. In the winter, it might take 20 minutes, but it doesn't matter what time of year it is. For me, I'm on natural gas. I turn on the valve, I turn it on, I walk away, and 10, 15 minutes, I'm ready to go, and I can cook whatever I want, right? So, I do a lot of burgers, sausages, wings, rotisserie, sear and steak. Right, last week I did fajitas, marinated some skirt steak, seared it 4 minutes aside, and it was done. So for me, I love it. Right, there would never be a time I wouldn't have a gas grill on my patio. I said it in my other video, I don't need one this big now that I've kind of grown what I have. So if I was to buy another one, I would definitely buy a smaller one, just because I've got a lot more flexibility now. When I bought this, a pellet grill was not on my radar whatsoever. But that's really, outside of that, when I redo a patio or something like that, I will definitely put a gas grill in, just for those 2 reasons alone. Some of the cons, right? Like you don't have the charcoal flavor, or you can't really smoke. Right, so this guy comes with this guy. We put pellets or wood chips in it, we throw it on a burner, and it smokes away, adds a little bit of flavor. I've showed it a bunch of times on my channel, the pellet smoking tube I have. I'll put a link below. Those are $20, great way to add some smoke, right? You can put your meat up here and put a little smoke down here. This is not an enclosed area, right? There's a vent near the back, so the smoke doesn't really hang around in there, so you can't put a ton of smoke flavor into it, but you can definitely add a little bit of flavor to it. So you're not going to have those 2 things, right? But if you ever go to pretty much any restaurant and go get a burger, it's probably cooked over a gas flame, right? We've all had great burgers out there. Very few, if any, restaurants are using charcoal, right? They're all gas powered. Even when you go to a high-end steak place, chances are that steak's finished with like a 1500 or 1800 degree infrared gas powered burner. This particular one has a 1000-degree burner, and I can tell you what, like, you can put an amazing crust on a steak that way. So, definitely, I would not knock it. In the barbecue community, they've got a little bit of a bad rep, but really, it's you can't replace the flavor of charcoal. I do love, some charcoal flavor, but I've cooked a ton of great food on here and a ton of great steaks, and it definitely stands on its own. It's a useful tool to have. Another con for something like this is you're really not going to be able to do any low and slow type cooks, right? You can kind of try it, but you're probably not going to see too many people trying to pull a brisket off here. Ribs, yeah. Pork shoulder, I don't know. I guess I've never looked to see if anyone's trying to do stuff like that. But even if you cook it, low and slow like that, you're not going to get all the smoke flavor into it. There's just no way. But anything else, other than the traditional barbecue, you can knock it on this. So I don't think there's a lot of cons unless you're really trying to get into that smoking and barbecue world. Then this is not for you. Maybe this is just something you have on the side for your everyday cooking when you don't feel like messing with something. Let's talk about some tips. First tip is save your money and buy a good one, right? I have owned lots of different gas grills over the last, 25 years or so, and I've bought the $400, $500, $600 grills, and they are great for a year, maybe two, and then all of a sudden you've got hot spots, you've got flare-ups, you've got all these problems with it, and depending on the brand, you probably can't find parts for it. So this is one of those things where it's worth saving your money and just buying a better quality product, right? Put it off for a year, put a bandage on the one you got and save money, and then buy a better one next year. But in the long run, you'll be a lot happier. My second tip is, if you can, put it on natural gas. Right? There is nothing worse than running out of propane in the middle of a meal. Been there way too many times, and even when you've got 2 propane canisters, right, or bottles, whatever they are, you still run out, right? Because you forgot to fill up your second one or something like that. I've done it before. At one point in time, I was like, man, I gotta have 3 of these things around here. But the same thing would happen. I kind of didn't have an option for natural gas for a long time, and then here I did. I had to spend some money to put it in, but I was like, I don't know, and I was kind of under this impression that natural gas doesn't burn as hot, so I wasn't going to get the same performance. Natural gas, you get a different regulator and a different setup. I think the holes are a little bit bigger, and you just get more fuel in there, and trust me when I tell you, this thing gets hot. I don't miss it at all. There's something to be said about walking outside, just flipping on a valve and knowing that no matter what you're cooking, you're never going to run out of gas. So definitely recommend that. If you're limited to propane or you don't want to spend the money to put in a gas line, do not buy propane from a gas station, a Home Depot, Lowe's, or a grocery store that has the propane exchanges. Those are 15-pound tanks. So right away you're getting ripped off by 5 pounds of fuel. But more importantly, they're usually done by weight, and they charge an arm and a leg for it. Right, you can buy your own 20-pound propane bottle. You can go to a place like we have Tractor Supply here. It's a farming supply store. They sell propane in bulk, right? It's $3 a gallon, or $2.79 a gallon, somewhere in there. It's been a while since I bought it. But what that means is that a 20-pound propane bottle holds like 4.7 gallons of propane if it's completely empty. So, you're getting a full bottle for like $13 as opposed to paying 20 or 24 at a gas station for a 15-pound thing. So do yourself a favor and buy one. Find a place like Tractor Supply where you can buy the propane in bulk like that, and it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. Then you can have 2 bottles and fill it up for the price of one, what you were doing before. Another tip is You're going to want a sear burner, so check for if you've got something like that available. Get yourself a rear rotisserie burner. Rotisserie chicken or steak, like a full fillet or a New York strip or something like that, do that like a roast but do a rotisserie, is delicious on something like this. So get yourself a rear burner. Also consider the side burners. If you're on propane, side burners usually eat up a little bit more gas, but I think it's worth it just so you can have that flexibility. So those are kind of my core tips for when you're looking at a propane or a gas barbecue. Let's talk about brands. So I think it's a Ford versus Chevy thing. I grew up as a Weber family. My dad had a Weber, several of them. I remember being a kid and helping him put together his first Weber, right? Weber has 3 different levels. 2 of them you can get at like a Lowe's and Home Depot. The third one, their Summit series, you have to buy it like a higher end appliance store, but well worth the money, right? If you can't afford the Summit series, go down. I think it's the Genesis series. The big thing there is warranty. We've got a 10-year warranty. So, anything goes wrong with it, you can get your parts replaced for no money. And, Weber's customer service is really good. The other brand that I lean towards is Napoleon. And actually 3 family members all have Napoleons now and love them. Napoleon's side burner is usually a sear burner. So now you've got a side burner and a sear burner, which is nice. Those are kind of your 2 everyday consumer type products that I would consider looking at. If you're looking for something more luxury wise, there's some options out there, right? There's Heston out there, there's Lynx, there's a bunch of them. When I was doing my research, I ended up with Lynx, and really the Lynx to me is just a thing of beauty, right? They're made in the US, they're hand put together, all the bevels here along the ledge is a little dirty right now, but these are all hand polished to a mirror-like shine. When this thing was unwrapped for the first time, I was in awe. I mean, it just looks beautiful. You can really tell that a lot of care went into it. When we look at our hinges here, these are welded in place. You're never gonna have any issues with your doors not aligning properly. Ball bearing sliders, electronic ignition, electronic lights, right? So all the dials light up. We've got lights up here, which are great. I didn't have lights on my barbecue for a long time, and I can tell you, just having them is really, really helpful. I do a lot of grilling at night, or you have a party that started in the afternoon, and you've got those guests that don't quite want to go home yet. So what do? You do some late night grilling to make sure everyone's fed. It's really nice to have lights. So some of the higher end products are going to have something like that. And the big thing for me is that this is a bed of ceramic. Even when I had my Summit, when I started cooking on this, it took me a little while to get used to how hot this thing gets. Right? I was burning my knuckles on it a lot because I would preheat it too long, and all these little briquettes really, really hold heat. So, that was the biggest thing. There was a little bit of a learning curve to deal with all the extra heat, and you get purely even cooking no matter where you're using, and with the Lynx, you're getting 1,000 degree sear burner that works amazingly. So, do you need a luxury barbecue? No, right? For me, I don't plan on probably buying another one for about 15 years. So, I wanted to have something that was good and had lots of room to, cook different things. We do like to entertain, and last thing I want to do is be working with a small grill. So for me, it was worth the money. But the Weber, the Napoleons, they're making great products, and I think that you can get into the middle line Weber probably for $800 or $1,000. I have not looked at prices recently, but they're somewhere around there, and to spend $1,000 and have a 10-year warranty is really worth it. I want to say that the Napoleon might have a 15-year warranty. I seem to remember seeing that somewhere, but I think it's only on certain models, so you'd have to double check on that. But you want to get something that's got a good warranty on it. And you know, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you want to make sure it's going to last and you can get parts for it. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you found some value in this. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not yet. You know, recording new videos every weekend. I'll see you soon.